In the lake next to the National Cemetery, landscaping workers found a skeleton. FBI Booth and forensic Dr. Bones came to the center of the lake and sank the biological detector to the bottom of the water. When the detector slowly fell to the bottom of the lake, they found a body wrapped in barbed wire. The body was severely decayed, leaving only bones. The bones were salvaged and brought ashore. The body was tightly wrapped in polyester fiber construction film, and the outer layer was wrapped with barbed wire to prevent the body from floating on the water. The skeleton was intact, but the skull was fragmented. Bones speculated that the deceased was a woman between 18 and 22 years old, about 1.6 meters tall. She had bursitis on her shoulders, which was an injury caused by sports. Preliminary judgment showed that the woman was a tennis player. There was no clothing left on the victim. Booth guessed that the deceased must have been sexually assaulted before his death. However, Bones did not think so. It was impossible for the deceased to like to wear natural fiber clothes during his lifetime. In sufficient time, the clothes could easily be completely decomposed. The body was brought back to the laboratory, and analyst Hodgins compared the 3 periods of caddisflea and chironomid larvae, and speculated that the body had been soaking at the bottom of the lake for at least 2 years. He also found some small bone fragments in the mud, which he speculated should be frog bones. The next step was to reorganize the bones for facial reconstruction. Of course, Bones had to do the bone reorganization work. During the piecing together, she could better analyze and obtain valuable information. However, this job could not be completed in a short time. She stayed up all night and finally perfectly pieced together the skull of the deceased. Through 3-dimensional holographic images, Angela successfully simulated and reconstructed the appearance of the victim based on the characteristics of different races. When the image became clear, Booth was stunned. This was actually Cleo, who had had an affair with the senator, but she had been missing for a long time. Cleo does like playing tennis. Booth is the person who was in charge of the missing case back then. Cleo's father was a decorated soldier with great power. Now there has been progress in the old case. Booth emphasizes that caution must be exercised after launching a new investigation. After all, this will make the relatives of the deceased accept the reality of death while expecting the missing, and public opinion will pay more attention. Bones wanted to work on the case with Booth, but considering that the case might involve many shameful secrets of government officials, Booth directly refused. Unexpectedly, Bones threatened Booth that if she was not allowed to participate, she would disclose the identity of the deceased to the media. Booth had no choice but to agree to Bones' request. There are 3 suspects at the moment: the senator's assistant who is also Cleo's boyfriend, and the other is a professional stalker who has a crush on Cleo. Hodgins found out that the particles in the skull of the deceased were rolled steel, and it was speculated that they most likely came from a sledgehammer. In addition, the particles were mixed with cement and diatomaceous earth. The combination of these 2 types of items was a bit like some kind of filter. There were also puncture marks in the bones and strange marks at the ends of the finger bones. Tests showed that Cleo was taking tranquilizers and antiemetics before her death. The frog bone fragments that were previously speculated to be the remains were tested again, and it was discovered that they were actually the bones of a fetus, indicating that Cleo was pregnant before her death. This discovery made everyone unanimously point the finger at the senator. Everyone speculated that because Cleo was pregnant, the scandal could no longer be covered up and threatened his career, so the senator killed Cleo. As long as a DNA test was done on the fetus's bones, the father of the fetus could be determined. Hodgins suggested that Bones should not interfere in this matter anymore. After all, it involved the senator, and his power should not be underestimated. Bones stared at a pile of bones and hesitated all night. After dawn, the upright Bones came to the Senate building to investigate. When asked for a DNA test, the senator and his assistant refused to cooperate. The guilty senator turned and left, throwing the chewing gum in his mouth into the trash can. Seeing this, Bones immediately picked up the gum from the trash can. The senator's assistant tried to snatch the evidence, but he was knocked down by Bones. In the laboratory, Angela reconstructed the crime scene based on the fracture marks. Cleo did not die from skull injury, but was stabbed to death. The murderer stabbed Cleo 5 to 8 times with a military dagger. Cleo stopped resisting after the 3rd or 4th attack. There were obvious scars on the tips of the finger bones of the body. The murderer should have cut off her fingertips with a knife in order to cover up the deceased's fingerprints. The skull was shattered because the murderer dragged Cleo to a cement floor covered with diatomaceous earth, and then hit her on the head with a hammer in order to destroy her facial features. The murderer took away Cleo's clothes and jewelry and sank her body to the bottom of the lake. It can be seen that the murderer tried his best to erase Cleo's identity. That night, the FBI dispatched a large number of police forces to search the senator's residence, but after searching for a long time, they only found 2 long-handled hammers. No bloodstains or diatom mud floors were found in his house, so there was no sufficient evidence. Bones returned to the laboratory and drank alone. At this time, Hodgins' words reminded Bones. Diatomaceous earth can be used as a filter and is usually used in fish farming. When investigating the stalker before, he once said that the senator's assistant, Cleo's boyfriend, was very fond of raising fish. In this case, he is the real suspect. The assistant has just seen the search warrant and knows that the FBI is looking for diatomaceous earth. He will definitely handle the scene. Bones immediately got up and went to the assistant's house. Through the window, Bones saw the assistant cleaning the scene. She forced her way into the room. Bones soon discovered that the linoleum on the floor was newly replaced. His crime was discovered by Bones. The assistant first filled the room with gasoline, and then took out a lighter to burn the whole house. Bones quickly subdued him. It turns out that the assistant personally introduced his girlfriend Cleo to the senator in order to get a promotion and a raise. When the news about their affair came out, the senator faced a hopeless situation. In order to protect the senator as his backer, the assistant secretly found Cleo, killed her, and dumped her body.